Let's kick it off then. Okay, well, thanks very much again, guys, for coming back to the Crown of Command. And I'm here with a stranger. It's only Carnifex, isn't it?
G'day.
We've been out in the wilds, mate, for the last couple of episodes. So now we're back to do a bit of a community shout out. And we're going to start off with looking at what people have been doing in the Discord. Yeah.
Yep. Um, Basically, people have been uploading a lot of content on Discord as usual, which is good to see. A lot of new faces. So thanks, guys, for joining up and showing us what you're working on, which is really great. In the Eviled section, we've had a lot of people posting stuff they're working on, and it's usually stuff of a higher quality than I'm capable of, which is good to see. Very inspiring. Wraith Wisp has been working on quite a few things. I don't recognize this model, Josh. Is this some sort of Warhammer Fantasy, Farmer Maggot type of character, or
Yeah, it's an ogre from the Marauder miniature range for Warhammer Fantasy, this one.
is that like an Imperial ogre, like a
Yeah,
mercenary or
pretty
something like
much.
that?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's pretty
dressed in
cool.
Imperial clothing and that kind of thing.
Yeah, incredible. I Look, you can't knock the old sculpts. They're just so full of
Oh yeah,
character.
they're brilliant.
Wraith Wisp is doing a fantastic job at that.
Mm-hmm. Yep, very much so.
Um,
Yep, cool flesh tones on there.
yeah, definitely. We've had a lot of squigs show up in the channel lately. It can be a bit contentious depending on what version of squigs they are, but I think squigs are pretty fantastic. Big faces, ridiculous teeth, and eyes and stuff. I love them. Anthony's done a fantastic job. John showing off some of the Nightmare miniatures ones, which I bought almost the whole range of. If you don't know Nightmare miniatures, definitely check them out. That's Nightmare as in Knighd.
Mm-hmm.
You'll find a lot of models that people like Kev Adams worked on for sale there, and they're perfect. I've bought quite a lot of stuff for 40K from that site, and I bought the squigs because they're so characterful. And yeah, John likes old stuff is showing a cool
Yep.
example of one of those.
Awesome.
Yeah, and Anthony also painted up some, like, I guess they're old Chaos Knights, like Zinch ones.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah, really, really excellent work on the yellow. I know people hate painting yellow, but it always turns out really, really cool. Look at that.
Yeah, some old models there.
Yeah, I love them, especially the guy in the middle.
Yeah, that guy there, and I like the guy beside him with the sort of like the face as part of like his chest kind of thing. Very
Yeah,
demonically twisted looking model.
I'm guessing it's Zinch stuff, like the
Yep.
Flamer head, or
Yep.
like Flamer of, is it Flamer of Zinch? No, it'd be a horror head.
Mm.
Horror
Yeah,
or
it
something
is
like
a horror head. Yeah. Yep.
that. Yeah,
No, they're really cool.
freaking awesome.
And especially that Chaos Warrior right on the far right. I just love that miniature. It's just brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Very good, Anthony.
And if we scroll up a bit more, Stegosaurus painting
Mm.
some Kev Adams orcs. I love them. The shields are fantastic too.
Yeah. Yeah. The shields on me
There's
too are just brilliant.
more character in the shields than some of the modern day sculpts. I'm sure
Yeah.
someone's throwing
They
a
should
tantrum over that.
still be available through Warmonger at the Foundry. So you can
Oh, yeah.
buy a whole. I was actually thinking about doing that years ago, buying a whole pack of these for my orcs. And I love these Kev Adams shields. They're just amazing. So you can still get them from you go to War Games Foundry and not War Games Foundry, just the Foundry, I think it's called. And Warmongers is like the offshoot fantasy range, and you can order those as part of their blisters. I think four in a pack or something. I think from memory.
Yeah, freaking awesome. Really good painting. Love the terrain. What a perfect shot.
Yep, no, great stuff.
And Voicetrend's been working on like classic Rogue Trader style orcs.
Yep.
Really good stuff. Seen a lot of awesome content from him lately.
Mm. Yep. Very cool. Very cool. Very old trader. Lots of hair. That's what orcish battlefield with lots of cat hair or something on there. Maybe it's on a cat. He's taking
I
photos.
think I think it was Clem was saying that there's all these like old mats that are made out of stuff like horsehair, uh,
Okay.
compressed horsehair, and
Yeah.
obviously Bring Out Your Lead was a big event that just recently happened, and a lot of the
Mm.
boys went to that. And Clem had shots of that mat, and there was comments that it's very fragile stuff. Those horsehair gaming mats. I don't know if that's exactly a horsehair gaming mat. It could be, but yeah, apparently they might not survive the move if Bring Out Your Lead does move.
Right. Okay. Well, there you go.
Fingers crossed. Classic stuff.
Ben's doing a lot
Um,
of good work too, eh? Like he's doing all these
yeah,
sixth edition orcs for a client, and they're looking really sharp.
yeah. His painting is pretty fantastic.
Mm.
So
Yep. Very nice metallics. And the skin tones are very cool. So yeah, very nice, Ben.
yeah, he was showing off some flesh tone paints as well recently. They
Oh,
looked really good. And I love Fortis's. Is it
yeah.
a Marauder? Sorry, not Marauder. Warhammer Quest model, or is it just a standard fantasy
No, this is
model?
just the standard fourth edition high elf archer champion type guy.
Totally reminds me of Warhammer Quest.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, yeah, I think the Warhammer Quest ones are very similar, isn't it? Very similar design. But I mean, a wood elf is a wood elf. I mean,
Yeah,
how varied can they
life
be?
is. Yeah, I love Bry's
Yeah,
Hellhound.
this is awesome,
Probably
isn't it?
one of the most insane tanks in second edition 40k. Giant flamer template that goes even further than a normal template should.
Yep, no, they're really
Nasty
cool.
vehicle.
Yep, very nice. Apparently, he didn't enjoy painting this thing, but I think it came out really well, Bryce. So you should be pretty proud, mate. Probably the only one you'll ever have to paint.
Probably all those studs, the rivets.
Yeah, yeah. Painting any vehicle's not the most fun project to do, but when it's done and it's on the table, well, you can enjoy the benefits of that. So that's really cool.
Slumberg. Pygmy Hippo's been showing off a lot of really cool work lately, and
Mm.
yeah, no exception. So I guess it's a Kislev army, something like that. I see a bear. I'm not sure.
Oh, right. These are the plastic dwarves that you can buy for like, 20 for a few quid or something like that. I've seen one of the other guys.
That's crazy.
Yeah, one of the guys in the challenge, the very first Call of the Crown challenge, did something this for his son, and he bought all these plastics really dirt cheap somewhere, I think in the UK. And yeah, they're a really great alternative for someone who just wants to get some monopose plastics really dirt cheap and play Warhammer. They're a great alternative. I don't know where they're from though. Sorry, I don't know which company makes these.
Yeah, must doing the models credit with such a good paint job.
Hmm.
Lots of detail on there.
Yeah,
And I'm guessing they're like a smaller scale. They look very small.
they've even got like a female runesmith, which is really cool in the front there.
Yeah. You
And
ever see Lady
also,
Dwarves?
yeah, also some kind of they're like cats or something jumping around. I don't know what
It
they're
look like jaguars or something.
jaguars or something. Right. Okay.
Something like that. Oh, leopards, snow leopards. There you go.
Right. Okay. Nice little banner
Count
too. Really cool
counts as throwing mastiffs. That's a friggin' awesome banner.
Yeah, really nice banner.
Yeah,
And some interesting looking stone elementals,
yeah,
I'm
something like
thinking.
that.
So, yeah,
Very cool.
yeah, very nice. All right, good stuff.
Yeah, so Kettle Trout, I
Yeah.
believe, took out one of the painting comp awards.
Mm-hmm.
One of them, with
Yeah,
his
yeah.
beautiful Famir um, land dragon is what he calls it. It's got like a boat on the back of it and some Vermeer directing it, and it's really awesome. I remember when it was being showed off as like a green sculpted
Hmm. Work in progress.
sculpture. Yeah, work in progress. That's what I'm looking for. And yeah, it's fantastic. Good work,
Yeah,
man.
love the shields. Yeah, that all the shields are handmade, and yeah, the whole boat thing's all handmade. So yeah, again, I like Carnifex. I saw it sort of in the green stage, and yeah, I think he obtained the dragon. I think it's an old Kev Adams dragon from memory, from what um, uh, Kettle was talking about. But I think he just didn't know what to do with it, and I think he made this for eventually Boyle, bring out your lead, and won the large miniature category for it. So well done again, mate. I think you did a great job there, mate. So very, very nice. I love I particularly love I think it's a familiar model of the dragon sitting up atop the Familiar's hand. I really like that as a
Yeah,
pet kind of reconnaissance dragon or something like that.
very
Yeah,
cool.
really nice. Chris B. Oh, I've not seen these.
Very nice.
Necro.
Yeah, been
Miniature Matrix
I guess
thing.
a little bit of necro leaking back in, which is good to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, Brandy Dog's been working on Adeptus Arbites and Whiskey
Oh
and Wizard
wow.
showing off the flesh colors there.
Yeah. So Brandy Dog, obviously a rich man. He's got like 5 Citadel painting handles, and has some beautifully subtly painted blacks on the Arbite models. These are really nice. These are the original metal models from Jez Goodwin. So with a really decent paint job, they hold up to anything equivalent in modern types of Arbites now. I know they've got the plastic box release now, but these just look absolutely amazing, don't they?
Yeah, Jez is really good at that, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Painting timeless, creating
Yep.
timeless sculpts. Yeah,
Yeah,
especially
really
a
nice.
lot of the elder, like they just unbeatable, really. Yeah, so that's those TT Combat flesh
Right,
colors that Ben was trying out.
right.
Looks pretty
Okay.
cool.
Yeah. Yep. No, he swears by the TT Combat paints, so I would like to give them a whirl at some point. I'm
Yep.
sure they're really cool. Highland painting is back. Cool. Hadn't seen these ones yet. So some
Yeah,
dead
work in
skulls.
progress Death Skulls.
Nice. Actually, I really like that idea because I've got some models which are not Death Skulls, and I would like to make Death Skulls. And I think this approach is really good, painting the skin blue and having the skull in white painted over their face. I think that's a really cool idea. I
Yeah,
might take the same approach actually.
pretty devastating unit too once you get them on the battlefield to
Yeah,
themselves,
yeah, yeah. Very
potentially to
cool.
themselves.
Yeah. No, I like that. That's really good.
So Wraithwisp did an
Mm.
original uh, Rogue Trader era Dreadnought. They
Yeah.
were in seconded for a little bit, but yeah, it's Iron Warriors themed. It looks fantastic, sort of Martian crust base.
Mm.
Yeah, real the he's type that the client asked for Grimdark, and yeah, it to
Right.
me it reminded me of those old robot horror films like Hardware and Virus and stuff like that. It's very good.
Yeah, yeah. Wraithwolves has a very particular style, and any photographs, usually photos in really dark backgrounds, and it looks very atmospheric. And yeah, they look really, really nice. I particularly like his fantasy range of models, like the real old Hammer third, second edition minis that he paints up, especially the Chaos stuff and Undead look really, really cool. And this is really nice. I hadn't seen him paint any 40K stuff until now for Rogue Trader. So yeah, really nice work, mate. I really like it. Again, it's very atmospheric. And you sort of hit it right on the head there with all those awesome sort of rusty looking orangey brown tones in there and all that kind of stuff. I don't know how you do it, but it looks really, really cool. It's a really great effect.
Yeah, it's Kettle Trout showing off some of the giants. Like he basically collects old giants, and
Right.
it's a real cool two-headed one and a cyclopean one, which is awesome. And I love his style. Uh, Yeah, especially like all the freehand. It's just freaking awesome. Nice tats
Yeah.
on the belly there.
Yep. No, very cool. Very nice.
Yeah, and I like the Cyclops has got like a men here, or I don't know how you pronounce it, but
Mm.
those big stones.
Mm.
He chucks rocks at people.
No, very impressive. Especially that coloration on the stone looks really cool too.
Yeah, it
So
looks like a big horrible plague bearer kind of thing.
yeah. Okay, so we're seeing some really nice styles, different variation in styles in our Evie led painting channel, which is great. It's good to see. Williams Wargames, he's been commenting a lot and getting really involved with stuff recently, and I've just seen his painted model here of a dwarf runesmith. So well
Yeah, I
done,
like
mate,
the
for
glow
jumping in. And
effect.
yeah, I was gonna say, just well done for just jumping in and showing your stuff. That's what it's all about.
Yep.
Just coming in and showing. And I love all the glow OSL on the helmet and everything. That looks really nice too. So yeah, very nice.
Gorgeous stuff. And yeah, Dreaded Harlequin by Ben.
Yeah.
Uh, Not something I'd ever attempt to paint myself.
Yeah, especially the little small hearts on the leggings and stuff. Yeah, really good.
Just
Nicely
ridiculous models too. Like
done.
it's got 70s style tassels and
Yeah.
all
Like,
over the place. Yeah. You go mad painting those, honestly.
yeah. No, very nice.
Not,
Okay. Well, let's jump out of here, mate. Let's go to something else now. Let's go and which channel shall we look into next?
yeah, if you want to have a very quick sort of foray into the modeling workshop. So it's where people showing off terrain and stuff like that and other things they're working on. So
Okay.
yeah, Marcel got some nice sort of pool room lights for his
Yeah.
gaming table.
Yeah.
I guess that's a solution that you could suggest to people if they're looking for that sort of thing. Um, it's going to give you excellent lighting.
Looks like he's opening up like an underground casino or something in his house. So
Could be, and it looks like a cat casino.
yeah, cat casino.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure people would pay to go into a cat casino.
Now, if you went to bring out your lead, you would have seen Tom's amazing boards and miniatures set up there, which would really cool to see. I would love to play on Tom's boards and see his miniatures in person. But yeah, really cool looking setup here, mate. Hey, for 40K.
Yeah, I think I saw Zinch, Eldar, Space Wolves, and Orcs in the
Yeah.
foray, maybe. But
Yep.
yeah, really, really nicely painted, especially the avatar.
John Paint's making some hills, or they're prefabricated ones. Gotcha.
Yeah, so I guess he's been putting a bit of life into them with the airbrush.
But are these Citadel ones?
Oh, rattle can, sorry. I'm not sure,
Right, okay.
but there's so many like preform hills and stuff you can buy from different companies these days.
Mm.
I
Mm.
like the balsa wood
Yep.
fencing. Like
Yep.
it always looks really good. And yeah, I'd get Hut or Ted.
Mm-hmm.
He's been working on these like orc huts that he's been making out of like balsa wood and fabric and things like that. They look
Yeah.
really, really cool.
Yeah, I saw the early stages of this, so it's really good to see it in development now.
Yeah, I like the stage by stage.
Yeah. So
I should build some for my snake bite poor
yeah, that's a good
boys.
idea. Yeah, it's very thematic to them, isn't it? Yep, cool.
Yeah, you've got the progress there of John Paint's hills. He's airbrushed them, and they look fantastic. Now, under that is something really gross Davide's been working on, which,
What's this?
yeah, so he's making the insides of like a Tyranid ship for Advanced Space Crusade.
Right.
And so that's like the early stage. And then if you scroll down slightly, he's on his blog. He's got like sort of what
Right,
it'll
okay.
be, yeah, dry brush to look like. Um,
Right. Well, let's have a look at David's blog because I don't think we've actually featured it before. So this is Tillian Sword, and this is Davide from Italy. It's his Oldhammer blog, basically. So if you want
yeah,
to check out what he's doing and his progress on his terrain or his wonderful 40K second edition battle reports, and
Yep.
painting and that kind of thing, you can always come here and check it out. And
He even got his little kids or hobgoblins involved with helping to paint those. So that was pretty cool.
right.
And yeah, finished. Someone finished off Chaos Dwarf. That's Williams
Yeah,
War
that's Williams War
Games.
Games again. That's really nice as well. So, and I think this is a printed one from Brauniac. Is that right? I'm not really sure. There's two guys who are prolific in the Chaos Dwarf printing, and one is Brauniac as part of our group, and there's another gentleman as well who does it, and I can't remember his name.
Yeah, it probably is Broniac's one. The other guy is Faberzel, and
That's it.
they're two different styles of Chaos
Yeah.
Dwarfs, even though they both look like Chaos Dwarfs. But
Yeah.
Broniac's ones are like sort of, I would say, a little bit more detailed.
Yeah, and you can check out his stuff. I mean, he's got links to stuff he's doing here, and again, yeah, it's a slightly different style, but it's still within the fourth edition kind of aesthetic. So if you're going to check out his stuff, you can see him here in the.
They fit in really well with
Yeah.
with the Games Workshop ones.
Yeah, perfectly.
Perfect. Yeah.
Flogger, Melmate Flogger.
Yeah, so he's painted up a Nazdreg, which is great. Nazdreg being one of the most bastardly orc characters in the game. He gets extra strategy cards and a whole pile of war gear. It's pretty cool.
Yep, he's my definitely my first choice of Bad Moon Commander, that's for sure. But he did a really good job there. Nice yellows, buddy. Now this one here, this one sort of stole my eye here because I hadn't seen it yet. But these are like Dave Andrews, like this is like real old hammer. The actual models they built at the studio. When Brian Ansell left the company, he took all the buildings and everything and all the miniatures with him. So if you go to the foundry, you can actually see these. Now, I hadn't seen these photographed until now, so thanks, Clem, for taking photos of these because they're such beautiful looking buildings, and I would love to go there and just check these out because that you can see some real modeling craftsmanship here that is now 30 plus years old when they were first built. So
yeah, bits of cardboard and balsa wood and hard work.
That's all you need. Yeah. And if you paint up really well like Dave did, then absolutely stunning. So this is the orc terrain too. Now these were built by somebody there at the studio at Foundry, I believe, and the guys use it during their games of 40K there. I don't know who made them, but they look really fantastic. And I always see that amazing Evil Sons glyph painted on the side of one of the buildings and looks just so cool. So whoever did that, and if you're in the group, please let us know because I really love those. I think that is absolutely excellent. So cool. The banners and everything hanging off them, draping over the sides, all the hieroglyphic.
Freehand.
Yeah, it's just amazing. Yeah, I really should pull my finger out and start making orc buildings. This is really inspiring me to do those because I need some orc fortresses on my tabletop when I play 40K. It looks very barren and very uninhabitable, all our battlefields we play when we play second edition. But these are really inspiring. So I'm
guessing it's like plastic card, a bit of putty, a bit of textured paint with some sand in it, and then cardboard embellishments to make like steel roofs and wooden spikes, toothpicks and stuff. So it's all doable. And if you have a look, Hippie Hammer, he's literally just gotten a piece of wood and added some embellishments, and that's the sort of terrain you can make when you pick up something from the outside and put a bit of texture work into it. It's pretty cool.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. All right, buddy. Well, let's jump out of the modeling workshop. Where should we go next?
Warhammer 40K seconded.
Of course. Your first choice of channel. This is your home, mate, down here. So what are we going to look at, buddy?
Yeah, so obviously, like Verminator's been showing off some Space Marines he's working on, just hacking up old models, converting, which was a big part of the hobby back then. Models might have come with like, a certain set of stuff and then you had to hack them up depending on what war gear, because people wanted to play WYSIWYG, or what you see is what you get.
Mm.
So yeah, he's been putting a bit of effort into his Marines.
That's
So,
like the Space Marine Terminator Stormbolter he's got on there, yeah? It's
yeah, so you can give Stormbolters to characters and things because they
right.
can add like a special weapon, or depending on your army, or a war gear card. And a Stormbolter's, yeah, it's a decent gun to have,
Yeah.
especially if you want to sit back and pew pew.
Okay. Very
I
cool.
had, yeah, that's the old chicken leg commander. Funnily enough, the bionic leg is a serious piece of war gear card to give to your
Mm.
character because it gives them
Mm.
an extra attack. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
More attacks is what you want.
What have you got here,
Uh,
mate? I
yeah,
recognize those models.
played a game last night with Brandy Dog.
Very cool.
He took the Slanish guys that you painted, and
Excellent.
people were just staring at them for hours, which was great. Had
Excellent.
all
Very good,
these
mate.
blow-ins coming by the table and just drooling. And
Excellent. Good to see.
yeah, the orcs got quite a bit thrashed, but some funny things happened. Like this is a battle wagon whose
Yeah.
driver got shot and killed, and it decided to go straight ahead, crushed an aspiring champion of
Oh
Slanesh
no.
to death, squashed her flat, and then hit the Land Raider and exploded into flames, killing everyone on board.
Wow.
Very orky.
Awesome. Because these are your orcs as well. Like, you've been sharing
Yep.
your progress of what you're doing with your evil sons, and they look really cool as well. So it's nice to see both your armies on the tabletop, mate. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's good fun.
Yeah.
And we went up to the local games club who have like lots of cool terrain and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, that's a custom Wazdaka Gutsmech that I bought off Troll Trader. I don't think they
Wozdeck is
realized what
gone.
yeah, and his battle cannon, that little white hole in the top, the
Yeah.
battle cannon's removable, so the battle cannon fired and blew itself up, but amazingly, the bike only got its autocannons damaged,
Jeez.
and Wazdaka somehow survived. He ran up and punched a Space Marine to death, and that's
Mm.
about all he did.
Brilliant. That's excellent.
Poor guy.
That's really fun. Yeah. So these are sort of pictures here you're taking of the game. Um,
Yeah,
you play with Brandy Dog. That's wonderful. Really good to see, mate.
yeah.
Really glad you guys are playing. That's excellent. So if you're in the Sydney side, which part of Sydney, mate? What kind of
That's that's at Sylvania. It's the Sutherland Shire Battle Games Club, which they hold a big tournament called Moab.
Oh, yeah.
That's coming up. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I think you guys, if you've got enough people, you can get. I think someone was talking about as well, holding a second edition tournament, or like a round robin type event in Sydney at some point in the future. So that'd be really, really good to see.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I think we're going to have to. Oh, this is pretty cool. These banners, Verminator. Oh, these are good. Okay, this is a really good asset for people who need banners and that kind of thing. So thanks again, Verminator, for posting these up, because a lot of people ask about banners and where to get them and how to find the prints of the original ones featured in White Dwarf and that kind of thing. Well, here you go. You've got an entire catalog. It looks like different kinds of banners that you can get for all your character models and your battle standards and that kind of thing. So a great resource here covering all 4 main chapters. So go and grab your high quality printer and print those off and stick them on your models. Excellent work.
Yeah, just give a quick shout out to Chris Snyder, who's been working on some excellent Eldar, and as well as Captain Crayon, he's been working on some Imperial Guard Rough Riders, the real Rough Riders, not those horrible modern plastics. And they've both been doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, no, Chris's jet bike, I saw that the other day. I think it's yesterday I saw that pop up, and it's really, really nice. Yeah, Chris doesn't see himself as being a good painter, but I think his stuff looks really, really nice. The Space Wolves he's done, the Elder he's painted, very clean, very crisp.
Yeah, it's amazing that he can be so critical yet churn out such like good
really,
models.
really nice models. So keep on going, Chris. Keep it going, mate. Doing really well.
Kicking ass, mate.
Okay, well, I think we're going to jump out of the Discord now, mate. We're going to jump out of there, and we're going to go to have a look at something else now, and possibly have a look at the what people are doing in other parts of our community, we'll just jump into the Crown of Command podcast community group. It's on Facebook. And we're graced in the cover photo of all the people from our community who attended the latest Bring Out Your Lead, which was held last weekend, and it was going to be their final and 10th anniversary event day. As sadly, the venue where Bring Out Your Lead is being held the Ansels had sold the property, and they will look for an alternative venue, possibly for next year. So, big shout out to our guys there. So we got Ed. Is it Ed Paints? Not Ed Paints. Old Man Paints. Old Man Paints. Sorry, Phil. Old Man Paints, and a number of other regulars like Marcel and Clem. And Timothy, of course, Kental Trout, and Roger. And the last gentleman, I think, is Arch Staten, I think. I'm not sure. Sorry if I'm getting any of those wrong, but some of the Discord handles and the people represented by them are in the cover photo.
Also, I think you did a good job.
I think I did not a bad job. I usually butcher people's names terribly, but now, GJ has got the Call of the Crown 3 up and running with the announcement video trailer on his YouTube channel. So if you've not seen the YouTube channel that GJ has started, it's called Forces of Fantasy. It has currently 32 subscribers. Go and check out his channel because he does a lot of stuff for Mordheim and a lot of stuff covering the earlier first edition of Warhammer Fantasy Battle that is sort of coincides with his podcast and also Patreon, where he goes through a lot of unboxings and that kind of thing, and starts rolling up lists, and eventually will start playing the scenarios from the first edition fantasy as well. So go and check that out. That's Forces of Fantasy, the podcast and YouTube channel. Links will be in the show notes. So that's been announced and done. I'll be doing an Undead project as part of my next studio update, guys. So check that out when it comes out later this week.
That looks massive.
It's a huge project. So thanks to David in the US for sending me this one, because it's a really impressive lot of really classic Undead. And you'll also spy a Marauder Giant in there as well. So that's going to be something really fun to paint. And things like this, which is really, really amazing. So David at 3D Foundry painted the classic Battle Masters Chaos Warriors on as knights in this really sort of Hero Hammer color scheme. So with these beautiful pendants and that kind of thing. So beautiful. Really nice effort there. And it's really good to see the community here still going and buzzing and still, adding stuff, and Alex's Chaos Dwarf fleet, which is really cool as well. So Man of War has been on our minds recently. And check out the advertisement here for the next, it's the second Dutch Oldhammer Con as well. That will take place on the 28th of October. So if you're in Europe or located near the Netherlands, or you want to travel internationally, go and check out all the information about that as well. So that's what's happening in Facebook. So please have a look and reconnect there if you haven't done it in a while, and see what's been happening. And very finally, right at the end, I'm just going to give a shout out to an old mate of mine. This is Henry Hyde. And Henry Hyde, I'm part of his Patreon as well, because he's got over 100 podcasts there that you can listen to. And he recently announced that he released Battle Chat now on regular podcasting platforms, which is excellent. So I really wanted to give him a shout out and say how good and how entertained I have been over the past few months as I do my painting commissions. I listen to podcasts regularly, and I've been listening to Henry's wonderfully produced podcast. If you're looking for something to listen to, please go and check out Battle Games Battle Chat. And if you want to support Henry, as he is a creator in the industry, creating books that you can buy from Amazon. He just released a book very recently, actually, I think last week. But apart from that, guys, thanks again for taking this time to watch this video. If you have not seen our Discord channel, please come and join us, because we are a great community, I like to think, of like-minded people who enjoy all aspects of the hobby, but especially games centered around the 1990s of the golden era of Games Workshop. Whether you like Space Marines, Man of War, Mordheim, Necromunda, Oldhammer, Warmaster, Warzone, anything, Warhammer Fantasy 4th and 5th edition, Warhammer 2nd edition, anything is like really rare, like the Rackham Confrontation stuff. Okay, we like to cover that. HeroQuest, Space Crusade, all those wonderful Milton Bradley games. We like to look at and share photos of people playing those with their families and that kind of thing. Now, all the painting challenges are here too. The Barded Demon Challenge, what we talked about on the podcast previously, that's still ongoing. And sorry, we didn't cover that in more detail in this particular community shout out. We'll have to do another one soon to cover a lot of other stuff because there is so much stuff going on. We've got the Call of the Crown 3 that's going on now. So people are getting ready and geared up for that, what they're going to need to do, and all the rules and for the categories and what you need to prepare and how to go about it are all here. And if you want to see all the Bring Out Your Lead coverage, which I think we have, I think we're gonna win the coverage of the event so far because all the guys that came took loads of photos of either of the cabinets, which some of the stuff I've never seen before, which is amazing, or of the games being played on the day. So if you want to check that out, please do so because it's all here. It's all there waiting for you. Now, links to the Discord will be in the show notes and the video description. So just go down there and you'll see a link that you can click on and join and check it all out. But until then, Carnifex, take care, mate. And I'll see you next time, mate.
See you around, guys. Thank you.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Mate, thanks again, mate, for taking all your time to come and talk to us at the Crown of Command today.
No problem. I'm just going to quickly change that because it currently says my wife's name. I evidently used Zoom last on this. There we go.
That's all right, mate. That's okay. So now this is Benjimin from the 90% Geek YouTube channel, which I've discovered really recently, actually. And thankfully I have because you've got such a great amount of content on there. So I'm really glad you came along to say hello to us on the Crown of Command, mate, today.
No, I'm really chuffed to be here. I've been a fan of your channel for a while, actually. I love seeing some of the classic Oldhammer stuff on there, and your painting is amazing.
Oh, thanks, Ben. Thanks, mate. And same to you, mate. I really enjoyed your painting of your Protonians and the games you're playing recently with your friends there, and of the Tale of Four Gamers, especially. Just you guys, just four of you guys, just talking about your projects, and you of course. This is a project based on one of the old white dwarves that's very famous, of course. It involves one of my ex-managers from Games Workshop in London, actually, Richard Gunson. With the Bretonian army, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, interestingly, I shared some pictures from the ongoing army on Facebook, and on one of the Facebook groups, he actually popped up on there to say some really kind words about it, which was really sweet. Great.
That's wonderful. Yeah, Richard's a great stalwart part of the hobby. Like he's been around for such a long time. Gaming when I was a youngster, when I was like 21, he was my store manager, and he was a really good painter too, Richard. So I'm sure he'll listen to this podcast. So he'd be very happy to know that you guys are enjoying your Tale of Four Gamers this time. And
which store was that you were at?
That was the Oxford Street store.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've been in that one.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So it's it was then, I don't know if it's still now, but it was like the flagship store of Games Workshop back then. So
I have no idea whether they're even doing the whole kind of flagship thing now. I know they had a giant Blood Angel statue in the corner at one point, I think. Didn't you guys have that?
I can't remember now, mate. It's such a long time ago now.
Yeah, no, I think all four of us in the Tale of Four Gamers are all ex-staffers at one point. Mike and Murray, who are two of the guys in there, we both worked at the same time at the Reading store. And Willard, meanwhile, going way, way back, was actually, he interviewed for Paul Sawyer's job at White Dwarf at one point.
Wow.
So he very nearly became the fat bloke as opposed to simply a fat bloke.
Yeah, Willard's good value. I really like him. Yeah, he's a good guy. Yeah, but all four of you have some great stories, and I like the banter and just the chat that you guys have in those video series. I really enjoyed that as I was painting and just listening and looking at the amazing armies that Michael can pump out in no time.
it's the really annoying thing that I think he managed to do that even in the days before Contrast. Like Contrast made him like 10 times faster, but it's one of those things now of like even before that.
Yeah.
We'd have like a store painting thing that needed doing, and the boss would just turn around and go, "Mike, this needs to be done today, please." And Mike would do it. Oh, fine, I'll do it over lunch, shall I? And it's done.
And then, so that was just one part of the channel that sort of looks back at the 5th edition, especially. But of course, you did the Return to the Badlands campaign. It's a campaign from the 5th edition battle book, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's using the campaign rules from the back of the 5th edition battle book, and then I kind of just put my own little spin on them. I love running campaigns. I mean, even before I was doing Return to the Badlands, I've been doing either campaigns at my local gaming club or running campaigns at other people's gaming clubs. I think it's kind of comes down to if I'm doing a role playing game or something, I tend to prefer to be the storyteller rather than being one of the players in the story, because that way you get to play with all the toys, you get to play with all the different aspects of the narrative. Yeah, Return to the Badlands. I don't know if you follow Jewel Knight Jess on Twitter. I'm absolutely blaming the Badlands campaign on her, right? Because I think it was during the second lockdown, or maybe it was lockdown 3. Lockdown 3, during COVID, she started posting pictures of 5th edition wood elves that she'd started painting. Oh. And it just, I don't know, it kind of reignited something in me, kind of this idea of, for ages, I'd been playing the latest version of whatever game was out. I had all the rule books going back for all the earlier editions I'd played, but I just, for some reason, hadn't felt the need to kind of revisit them. And yeah, I kind of suddenly had this mad idea of, well, hang on a minute, we're all stuck in lockdown. Isn't this the perfect opportunity to paint something up? And yeah, we decided, well, let's do 5th edition fantasy armies, with the goal of being, when we all finally get out of lockdown, we can meet up and we can play some old games of fantasy. And that's where the Blood in the Badlands and Return to the Badlands campaign weekends came from. So we just ran our second one last month. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. About 20 of us up at Warhammer World playing with square-based toys.
It's brilliant, mate. I would never imagine that 5th edition fantasy played at Warhammer World. I couldn't believe it. Even when I was basically, sort of in and around Games Workshop stores in Brisbane, in Australia, that I don't know how many years ago, 15 years ago, they wouldn't even allow you to bring in models that weren't current. Like at that time, like I was gaming with a few guys, they were playing 40K. I was sort of just hanging around because, they were my mates and that kind of thing. I wasn't really into Games Workshop at that stage. I was sort of out of Games Workshop at that stage. But even in the stores then, they were really strict on what models you could bring. Like you couldn't bring anything that wasn't out of production. Like I couldn't bring my Rogue Trader, like Chaos Army, for example, because they would say, no, sorry, mate, they're not, we can't currently sell those, so you can't actually bring them, put them on the table. But now it seems they've changed that, and now there's letting people bring whatever they like to Warhammer World and just start playing, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, well, we even had an element of part of the challenge for each of the campaign weekends there's been a prize for whoever brings the oldest model. Yeah. So I think like the first year, Russ, who regularly appears on Arbiter Ian's Tale of Four Gamers series, had brought some kind of classic 1980s Chaos Wizard model. And this year, Alex won the oldest model. I think it was a 1982 Great Eagle model that was about that big. I mean, it fit on a 25mm square base. It was a tiny little thing.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, but that was being used. They were using it as part of their army at the weekend. And I mean, that model's older than some of the guys who were working there that day. But yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It's amazing, isn't it? That's great, mate. That's fantastic. Was 5th edition the first sort of game, or was it the first Games Workshop product you actually encountered as a youngster, or was it something else?
I think 5th edition is kind of the first big box game that I got into. So I dabbled in fantasy just because I was painting Airfix kits back then. In fact, hold on, I've got a prop.
Wow. Okay. Airfix kits. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
I was a kid. I was painting Airfix kits, and one day my nan brought home this box, which I still have.
Nice, mate. Yeah, wonderful.
I know. And yeah, it was kind of this whole idea of I loved watching things like Jason and the Argonauts and like Ray Harry Harrison films as a kid. And being able to paint up and build some of these little kind of plastic skeleton things really kind of was like something out of that. And then, I had made up games battling them against toy knights and stuff that I had lying around. But when I went to school and I met up with some of the other kids there, one of them said, oh, it's actually a game. and they offered to show it to me. That was 4th edition fantasy. And I got showed a little taste of 4th edition fantasy.
Right.
And then it was fortunate, it was just around that time the 5th edition set came out. And yeah, that was it. And I launched myself into it and never looked back. So 5th edition, I think, was probably my first real kind of playing weekly with my friends version of the game. And likewise, I think 40k 2nd edition. I'd had an exposure to kind of Rogue Trader because my next door neighbor played Rogue Trader, but I think it was probably 2nd edition 40k that I actually started collecting like an Imperial Guard army and playing games with them. And then 3rd edition 40k was, I think, it's probably my favorite version of 40k.
Right. Okay. Wow. Imperial Guard army. That's quite an ambitious project to play Imperial Guard in 2nd edition 40k.
Oh, they got mullered all the time. I ended up buying an Evasaur Assassin to just try and give them some kind of kill power because they were constantly. Bear in mind, Imperial Guard army, but I didn't have any tanks. I had the Praetorian Imperial Guard, like the pith helmeted guys that they'd done for Games Day. Yeah. I had a whole bunch of those, but no tanks. I think I had some Space Marine tanks because I didn't at that point fully understand that they weren't, an obvious part of, so like a Predator.
Right, okay.
Which has now got to a new home, actually, with Mike from Tale of Four Gamers to go and join his 2nd edition Blood Angels army.
Nice, mate. That's excellent. Yeah, because I think Imperial Guard is one of those factions where you just need a ton of miniatures, and the cost outlay for that would be enormous during that era. But I suppose later in 3rd edition, they brought out plastics and that kind of thing, making it easier to buy mass armies and that kind of thing.
I suppose it was one of those things in 2nd edition, it's still, you didn't need huge armies of Imperial Guard.
That's true.
I mean, like, 1,500 points, that was 3 or 4 squads and a command section and a commissar, which I already had most of that coming out of the Praetorian box.
That's awesome.
But no, they were not effective without, Lehman Russ tanks and stuff. That's what they really had, and basilisks and stuff. That's the real firepower in the Guard army lay, and I just did not get that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Okay, so now you got into 5th edition fantasy, and now you sort of brought it back again later, more recently with the guys during lockdown. Were the guys that you were involved with in the Reading store and that kind of thing, were they also part of your gaming group back in the day, or were they sort of just external gamers that sort of followed 5th edition back in the day as well, and they sort of joined you on this mad crusade to bring 5th edition back?
So, again, there's a bit of a full-length story behind the whole kind of 5th edition thing. I don't know if you've seen that going way back. There's a box set that I found at the dump. So that kind of is one of those confluence of events things that helped with all of this. And you go back and check out this mad video where I pulled a box home from the dump, and we didn't open it until we were on camera. We're like, let's find out what's inside this thing. And it was a near mint collection of all the stuff, all the Bretonians that you got inside the 5th edition starter box, even down to like the limited edition general model that they'd done back then, which someone had just thrown away and was going to go in the crusher if I hadn't rescued it. But so I then kind of got in touch with my current gaming crowd, and they're used to me kind of dropping them a line and saying, "Hey guys, I've got a great idea," and everyone kind of goes, "Oh God, what's he doing now?" And off we go. Next thing you know, all things of madness have ensued. But yeah, I dropped them a line and said, "Hey, I've got this crazy idea. Who's up for this?" I said, I think it was people we were all stuck at home. I don't know if Games Workshop had actually shut its doors at that point as well. We couldn't even go in and buy like current stuff here in the UK, at least. So it was one of those things. Well, I can buy old stuff online without difficulty. So, and there's some great trading sites and stuff on like Facebook. A really kind of great old hammer community where you can kind of go, "Hey, I've got this, but I don't want it anymore. Does anyone want it? Great, what have you got?" And I swapped like a bunch of Warmaster Empire for most of my Metal Dwarf Slayers and Hammerers and stuff.
That's great.
And other people just kind of drop me a line saying, "Hey, I've got dwarves and stuff that I'm not using just sat in a biscuit tin under the bed. Would you like them?" And they just kind of dropped them off on my doorstep in a socially distanced kind of way. Open the front door, there's a tin of chocolates there, which is actually filled with like 1980s metal dwarves.
I mean, I need your friend. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, that's it. No, but it's that kind of, I guess, that sense of community, which is really quite nice about the old hammer scene, that they are really friendly, because I guess it's down to not just being enthused about the hobby, but being enthused about a particular part of the hobby.
Yeah.
And people get excited about wanting to share that enthusiasm. Yeah. But so I kind of roped in all my current gaming mates into it. And then reached out to my friends when we were kids and said, hey, who'd be up for joining as well? And they weren't able to join me for the first Badlands event because we were all kind of scattered all over the country now doing different things. But at least one of them was able to return to the Badlands this year. And he brought his Empire, my friend Dave. Hi, Dave, if you're watching. He brought his Empire army that we used to play against when we were like 12 years old, sort of thing, and dusted them off out of storage. And I then probably rode all over them with big horse hooves. I feel a little bit bad for. But yeah, no, it's kind of nice ways of reconnecting with that. There's an element of reconnecting with the way that you gamed when you were a kid.
Yeah.
But there's also a way of playing new games, I guess, of something that feels like a new version of the game, because it's so long since I'd played this game that it does feel like playing a whole new game again.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm going to say, finding that box set in dustbin, it's kind of like finding the holy relic because you're now playing Italians, and it's kind of just fitting. You've been blessed with this holy relic that you've reclaimed, and now taken the dust off, brushed it off, and started putting together, painting all the miniatures, and it's wonderful to see, mate. That's great. It was meant for you.
Every time I go down the dump now, I'm kind of peering around like this to see if have you had any more Warhammer dropped off? And it's quite nice. They've saved me a few books and stuff. I'm talking to the guys down there at the recycling centre, and if they get some books in, they kind of put them to one side, and I go by like once every couple of months and just pick up a stack of bits.
You got like a most wanted poster or something you can hang up there, and they can just find relics for you as they come in. People throwing away their old 4th and 5th edition army books and.
The craziest, this is the absolute crazy part. The day that I went down, I was moving house, and the day I went down there to pick up, I picked up this box. I was actually just dropping a load of stuff. We were having to have a house clearance thing as part of the whole moving process. And there was another house on our street a few doors down that also made a trip to the dump. And I know from having spoken to that lady that her son used to be really into Warhammer. It was one of those, next time my son comes over to visit from Japan sort of thing, you must, have a chat with him. And I had this sneaking suspicion of, was this his Warhammer collection that I'd ended up with? I don't know.
It's not me. I'm not her son. I'm from Japan, but it's not me. So there's another Warhammer player in Japan. My goodness. Okay, I'll have to hunt him down. He's
not anymore because his stuff's gone down the dump
now.
Oh,
okay. Well, there you go. Yeah, that's sad. Yeah, but it's funny, isn't it? The people I've met here too in Japan that have their roots back into 5th editions and quite incredible. So it made quite a big impact, I think, for Games Workshop. I think Rick Priestley said it's one of the biggest selling commercial products they've ever made, 5th edition fantasy, the actual box set, because of all that, incredible. Like as soon as you open that book, the color just pouring out of those pages were just insanely intense, weren't they? Compared to
it's an approachable version of the game. That's one of the things that we've found playing through it. It's got elements like, how do you get a guy in a building? Well, you lift the building up and you see how many models you can fit underneath the building. We had a moment during one of the games that returned to the Badlands of, can I get my Pegasus in this building? Well, if it folded its wings in, then it would fit through the door. Okay, well, fine. Your Pegasus can go inside the building then.
Yeah, it has a unique charm that I think it separated itself, because 4th edition had a lot of the 3rd edition roots, but I still love a 4th edition. I mean, that's the edition that I got into really playing Warhammer. And I love all those old, Paul Bonner drawings, Adrian Smith, all those Steve Tappan type weirdly wonderful drawings in there. But 5th edition just brought this glorious amount of color and this vibrancy to Warhammer, which had never been seen before and never since. So, yeah, I think it attracted a lot of younger people. It got a lot of young kids involved, and it's really wonderful to see. And it still harks all these memories from you guys, which is nice as well.
It's still really playable as well. I mean, it is a lot of fun to play, and it doesn't take that long. I mean, we were getting, I budgeted at the Badlands event that we'd get maybe 2 games in a day. And we bear in mind we had 8-9 hours booked at Warhammer World. Some people were getting 3 or 4 games in during the course of the day because they were just hammering through them that quick, and they were enjoying themselves that much that they wanted to just play more games of Warhammer. Yeah,
that's awesome, mate. And even I think Tale of 4 Gamers, or one of the videos I was watching and listening to the guys talking, they actually enjoyed it so much they preferred it than some of the modern games they were playing, like Age of Sigmar or whatever. I think they found it just more fun. That's what I like about these old games. You laugh a lot. There's things that happen that things explode or blow up, or just just things that you just haven't predicted just sort of happen during the battle, and it sort of unfolds this great narrative that I think it's quite different from other games.
I think it can best be summed up in terms of a rule system by the Dragon rules, which we didn't find out until I think we played a kind of a precursor to the Badlands at one of the games clubs in London, the Hate Club, Hackney area tabletop enthusiasts. And we came kind of just a few practice games down there. But while we were there, one of the guys, Gary, who, again, is an Arbitrarian's Tale of Four Gamers with his beautiful Vermeer army, rocked up with these kind of gorgeous Forge World dragons that he bought before the old world got squatted and then just sat in a box. And he painted them up beautifully. But then he went, okay, so what does it do? And we looked at the dragon rules and went, well, you've painted it green, which means it does this.
Right.
And it was that madness idea of, what color you have painted your model affects like what powers that dragon has. Yeah. And it wasn't like he tactically painted, green dragons, that'll be really good against playing against Russ's Chaos Warriors or something. It was just, well, it'll look really good in green because it's going to be an orc army.
Yeah.
But they'd written the rules to have different rules depending on what color you painted your dragon. I brought a dragon. What color is it?
Which means you need like 5 different dragons. Brilliant.
Yeah, well, he's got at least 2. He's got his green dragon and his white dragon, one that gasses you and one that freezes everybody.
Yeah, that's brilliant, isn't it? Yeah, no, it's really good. It's, and you bring a lot of enthusiasm to your videos and to the games you talk about, and I think that carries on with the other guys as well, and they sort of get wrapped up in it, which is excellent to see. Now, I've heard something crazy that you want to do for your birthday, like a 40-player event.
Oh, that was the original plan for the return to the Badlands. Was I hit the big 4-0 this year, right? And I said for that, wouldn't it be fun if I could get 40 gamers for my 40th? We managed 20 in the end,
right?
Because the Badlands event happened about a week after my birthday. But I'm now already planning for my next 40k event because I run a 40k campaign every year as well, and that's probably going to be November time-ish. There's some videos on my channel about last year's one, Silent War, it's called. 40k players for 40. I mean, that seems doable. I'm sure I can get enough 40k players to agree to come and all play 10th edition. Yep,
absolutely. I think if you're looking for 40k players, they're in an abundance. I think generally, 40k.
I've only played one game of 10th thus far, but I really enjoyed it, and
that's good.
It's quite a fast-paced game, which I think will lend itself well to the ridiculous shenanigans that I always end up throwing into one of my campaign events.
Yeah, no, that's good. It's a good point too that your channel is not focused purely on the 90 games, but you focus a lot of the recent, more current games like Age of Sigmar, and you're talking about. I think your latest video talks about the new Old World game and some of the news. And I actually enjoyed that last video because I don't scour the internet to find rules about these games. So it was interesting just to take your viewpoints on it, and your information on that was quite informative. How positive are you about the new upcoming game from Games Workshop about the Old World?
I'm really positive when I hear that they've looked back through previous editions of the games and looked for things that they felt were the most fun or perhaps the best rules from a particular game system. Because I think what we'll get there for is something that feels like the games we played as kids, but that isn't just the same as playing those, that it is something of it in its own right. And that's, I think, really exciting. It's creating that combination, if they can pull it off, that combination of something new that has the feel of something familiar will be a great game to play. I still think it'll have to be really, really amazing to stop me, to make me play that as a priority rather than playing 5th edition, 6th edition fantasy, just because I've rediscovered the love of playing those games. I'm really excited about the Old World, and I'm really positive, not just because it means that there's a whole bunch of miniatures that have been hard to get your hands on for a while that are all going to come back, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to see. I personally probably will not play it, but I'll be interested to see other people playing it. And if someone buys the rules or the box set or whatever, however it comes out, I'll give it a go just for purely interest and just to give a more informed opinion about the game, whether if I like it or not. But it will not definitely replace my love of like the old games. Definitely not, because it hasn't got that nostalgic factor. And I think, and it's not just that. It's like any modern game. doesn't have the nostalgia factor that sort of draws me in, and that sort of mystery and mystique to a lot of the older games, and finding out, discovering new things that have been lost, and you need to find out through either FAQs online or through White Dwarf magazines or the past and that kind of thing. I find that very interesting and a great joy about the hobby. But I'm really happy to see that it's going to introduce a new. I like wargaming. I love wargaming. I think you do too, and I want to see it continue on and have new people introduced to the wargaming hobby. The painting aspect of painting miniatures, collecting, and playing tabletop games in whatever form, I think it's all positive. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what it brings, and it might bring a whole new wave of people from who played the computer games into playing a tabletop game.
Yeah, and also we might finally get to see some of the stuff that I'm not a big computer gamer myself. And again, it's probably somewhat telling that the computer games I do play tend to be ones that were released 20 years ago. I'm playing through Ocarina of Time recently. Right. Yeah. I've got my daughter playing Spyro rather than, she'll be there on Minecraft. I'll put Minecraft out here, get this PlayStation out and let's play Spyro. Yeah. But there are loads of I am aware there are loads of units that are featured in like Total War that I would love to see make their way into the miniature world. I mean, some of the Kislev stuff that they've teased, Polar Bear Riders, or the Cathay Army that they've basically completely fully fleshed now in the computer game. That's something that was planned for a long time for the miniatures, but never quite made it to the tabletop. And it would be great if it finally made its appearance. Yeah,
it'd be good. It'd be great, whatever they do. I mean, if they release the older models, like you say, for people who had missed the chance, who want to play either this version or other versions, earlier versions, great. I mean, it's just a positive thing. They'll be paying through the nose, but hey, they'll be able to get them, cast up in the foundry, which would be really nicely done and perfect. It'd be packaged very well and sent it to their door in time and that kind of thing.
Still cheaper than eBay, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I don't go to eBay. That's one reason why I don't go to eBay, because it's just ridiculous, the amount of prices they're charging for stuff. I mean, some poor bugger like Matt in England, that I know, who sent me some goblins, is trying to hunt down one of the 4th edition goblins, the common goblins.
Okay.
They're like asking like over £100 for this one tiny little thing. It's just ridiculous. So if that means that Games Workshop will open up the doors and say, okay, well, we've got these molds of all these old models, we're going to reproduce them and make them available again, that's fantastic. It just means that people who are either going to play this game, play previous versions, get the collections they need, the miniatures they missed out on, everyone wins. You know what I mean?
No, I know exactly what you mean. I've got basically a shopping list at the moment of stuff that I want to add to my 5th and 6th edition fantasy armies. And it's like, okay, re-release these models for the old world, please, so I can add them to my 5th and 6th edition armies.
Yeah. And even the single Bretonian adventurer guy they released in plastic, I think, that's a cool looking model. I wouldn't mind just painting it up. I mean, it looks pretty cool. So they've got some good design ideas. I'm sure it's going to be a really good product. I mean, that Games Workshop make good things. Let's be honest. Very expensive things, very nice expensive things, but yeah, good things. So it'd be good. I feel positive about it, and if anything, I just hope people will still want to play 5th and 4th edition with me after it's released.
I think there's no risk of those going away. Even if the old world is great, like I said, even if the old world is great, I'm already still planning for next year's 5th edition fantasy campaign weekend. Right. And who knows, maybe you'll be able to come over and play in it.
Mate, that'd be wonderful. Send me an invitation. I'll
definitely
ask the big boss if she can give me some money to come over there and play it with you, mate.
I'll tease here. This is something I haven't mentioned on my channel yet. The plan for next year is not going to be going back to the Badlands. We've happily purged the Badlands of Batface the Bloody and the Castle of the Bat. And what I want to try and do for next year is, I don't know if you remember, in the pages of White Dwarf, they did a monthly article for about 4 or 5 months. This is probably around White Dwarf 211, 212, where Rick Priestley took his campaign rules from the back of the battle book, but did a studio campaign with unique monthly missions. This was the inappropriately named Return to Thorskinson's Island, or Thorskinson's Island. Not a name you necessarily want to say out loud. But here's the thing. It was supposed to be like a 6-part campaign, but White Dwarf only ever published 5 parts.
Bugger.
Their last month they missed for whatever reason. So I'm in the process of trying to track down. I've got a lead. I'm going to try and track down Rick Priestley and say to him, Rick, what was the last part? Can you remember? If you can't remember, can you write me a last part and I will run it next year for next year's 5th edition campaign weekend. We will play through as it was originally intended. Return to Thorskinson's Island.
Thorskin, I was going to say Foreskins. Thorskin's got the sniff.
No, that's exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah, he got sniffled up at the end, I think, mate. But yeah, get Rick on if you can get him. Be great, and he can just invent. He can just invent the last scenario. Who cares? I mean, it'd be just.
I'm hoping he goes, oh yes, I remember exactly what was supposed to happen there, and he can just tell us what the last missions were. But otherwise, it would still be cool to see this thing that was never quite completed in White Dwarf finally come to fruition.
That'd be awesome, mate. I would love to come and do it because I was excited just to watch you guys play. I mean, I've never seen an event like in modern day of people playing 5th edition in such large numbers, in one sitting. It's incredible. So I think it's great, mate, that you're doing that. It's fantastic.
Well, it's one of the nice things at Warhammer World is when they don't have their own events on, they kind of have just an open gaming weekend and people can book tables. And that seems to be when all the old Hammer players come out of the woodwork.
Oh, right.
So like the first year, last year,
Yeah.
When we were there doing the first one, we were there all playing 5th edition. I think there were about 11 of us playing 5th edition. And there were like 20 guys on the other side of the room all playing a massive 6th edition mega battle.
Wow.
So there were, there was more square bases than round bases in Warhammer World that weekend. So it does happen. People do kind of turn up en masse and descend on places like Warhammer World. And I mean, there's Bring Out Your Lead as well with the massive event there.
Yeah, that's
people
right.
all playing their kind of classic games.
Yeah, it seems that from what I've heard from the Bring Out Your Lead is that people who can't or who go there a day early or whatever, they meet at Warhammer World and they play some games and post Bring Out Your Lead, they go and play some games there or whatever. So I have seen some older games being played there. So that's good. It's great. It's because, you're living in the lead belt really in Nottingham. So you've got, so many guys who have got old collections of models and love the old, Rogue Trader, one of 3rd edition, that kind of thing.
Longbeards. So there's a whole bunch of us out there grumbling and rubbing our beards and muttering about the youth today.
That's it. I like that term. That's good. Now, what's coming up on the channel, mate? Anything else you can share with us at all for 90% Geek?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, this Friday, I'm just finishing doing the audio for another battle report. It's another 5th edition battle report.
Brilliant.
It's kind of an end of the Badlands battle report. The first battle report video I did was myself and Mike before we went up to Warhammer World and our kind of before the event campaign armies. Now we've done our returned from the campaign kind of battling it out armies. So that's going up this Friday. The big news I'm really excited to share with people is I've managed to secure, I finished off fairly recently, I've got to finish editing it. I got an interview with Nick Davis.
Oh, wow. Cool.
From White Dwarf fame, the lizard man himself.
Yes.
Nice. He was very kind to come on the channel and kind of talk me through his journey within Games Workshop, share some stories of what it was like kind of in White Dwarf back in the day, talk a bit about what he's doing now. So that's probably going to be like there was so much we planned to talk for an hour. I think we were there for like 2.5 hours because we just talked so much. It was so much fun. So I'm probably going to have to break that down into like 3 parts. That's going to be like a 3-part series. But yeah, that's my big news. I've got an interview with Nick Davis coming up.
Excellent, mate.
Talking about Warhammer and White Dwarf back in the day.
Great, mate. That's great. That's wonderful. Like I said, I think you bring a lot of enthusiasm to your channel and to your viewers, and I really enjoyed watching your content. Whether it's like, mostly all it's 90% of it's going to be like the old Hammer kind of 5th edition, and going through your Raiders of the Lost attic. One of your friends has got this amazing collection of games he had in his parents' attic or something. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's just we're going to play through a bunch of those. That's on my long-term plan. We've got a planned weekend where we're going to play through some Dark Future and some Man of War games,
cool.
and just to spend the weekend playing classic games and film that and share that with people. That's going to be a lot of good fun.
So, Ben, if you've never played Man of War, I can tell you now, mate, that's one of the best games I ever made. Honestly.
I'm really looking forward to it because I had an awareness of Man of War as a kid, but I just never kind of knew anybody who played it, so I never got into it. I've got Dreadfleet. I've got all the Dreadfleet painted up, and that's a great game if you've never played it.
I've never played it.
I'm really intrigued to see how that compares to Man of War because it looks, though, from having looked at the rule book for Man of War, there's a lot of the same DNA there.
Andy Jones and Nigel Stillman and Wayne England wrote the rules for that game. But you'll notice that Andy Jones, anything he touches, I think Warhammer Quest was another one of his.
Brilliant.
Yeah, really. He was part of like the IP division, Andy Jones, as far as I remember, and he just made these amazing games. It's incredible. Yeah, really.
I have very fond memories of playing Warhammer Quest, and just it was. I mean, it shares a lot of DNA with D&D, but it is just a really fun Warhammer-based dungeon busting game. And although I enjoyed Silver Tower and I've got everything they've done for Cursed City, what I still really wish they would just give in and do is just a classic dungeon busting Warhammer Quest game. Maybe when the old world comes out, maybe then it'll be the time for them to go, okay, we've had Warhammer Quest in the Age of Sigmar, let's have Warhammer Quest in a dungeon in the old world.
I think you're right. I think once they're bringing back the Warhammer world, they'll bring back other, specialist games, as we like to refer them as, in different iterations. So they'd be really good. They're bringing back Epic, which is fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, they're kind of bringing back Epic.
I mean, again, I will never stop playing second edition Epic because that's my edition and I love it. And but I'm happy to see more people exposed and going to be able to play Epic scale games in 40K. That's great.
This is true.
Models, yeah, they've got access.
Marines are always good.
Yeah. But anyway, Benjamin, thank you very much for coming on. I really appreciate your time today, mate. And I want to just say to people, go and check out your channel, 90% Geek, and I'll leave links in the show notes here so people can go and check that out because, your stuff is definitely really enjoyable to watch, and I really look forward to the content you're going to bring out in the future, mate.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure, mate. Take care, and I look forward to this interview and for your battle report very soon.
Yeah, tune in this Friday.
Great. Awesome. Can't wait. Take care, mate. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Right. All right. So today I'm joined Rob from Digital Wastrel. Is it Wastrel? Is that how you pronounce it? Wastrel. The Wastrel.
Yeah.
Okay, in Japan. So, mate, Rob.
Hello.
Mate.
Nice to be here.
Thank you very much for coming on to the Crown Command. And you recently reached out to me because you saw my review of the War the Orcs book from Rogue Trader. And we had met previously many years ago at Mr. Fields, which
I think we had a couple of game days playing Infinity together. I haven't played Infinity for a long time, but that's how we first met. And then I saw your Rogue Trade Orcs and something snapped in my brain and I felt the need for Oldhammer.
Can I ask, Rob, why did you quit Infinity?
Honestly, it's metal models.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Like I've still got like a couple of kits that I haven't built yet. Yep. But every time I think about just painting them up, I'm like, messing around with the little arms and the tiny little bits kind of kills my enthusiasm, to be honest. Yep. And it feels like you need to really pay attention to the rules to play properly. Because I've got a group of friends here and we played semi-regularly for a little bit. But it feels like you kind of need to be using your whole brain to use it, to play it. I understand that now there's like a more simplistic version, which might be quite cool. But I just haven't felt the need to go back to it so far.
Oh, that's fair enough. That's okay. I sort of got out of it because it was just a brain burn for me. And the multi-part metal kits, even though they're beautiful and I love the models, I think the aesthetic is just amazing. Mm-hmm. They're the best metal miniature manufacturers in the world, I think. But putting those little bits together were just, they're getting better now. Like the process of 3D modeling, when that came in, they made that process a lot easier, attaching the small parts to the main frame of the body and making casting easier for the guys. And now they've gone into, I think, plastic molding for a lot of the larger kits, the larger tags and that kind of thing. So obviously with the board games now, they're coming out with plastic models and obviously it's going to change. But yeah, I mean, we play here. We play a lot of metal models because we love that one piece, old classic style. Come out of the blister, they're out there. You just clean up the mold lines, put them in a base, and away you go. But you must have a lot of metal old Rogue Trader figures then, considering.
Well, actually, I purged most of my old Orc collection when I left the UK.
Oh, right.
Yeah, like most of us, built up a lot of a collection of models from my childhood, back in the day. And then when I moved to Japan, there's a limit to the amount of stuff you can take with you. So I ended up losing quite a lot of, or selling on quite a lot of my old figures. But yeah, so I brought like a core of models that I really loved. So like my old Freebooter Warboss and a couple of others, just to have. And yeah, then a few years ago, I found secondhand some unassembled plastic Road Trader Orc Boys, the original multi-part kit. And I think whoever put them up for sale had mislabeled them because they were really cheap. Like maybe they didn't quite understand how much they normally go for. So I snapped those up. And from there, I just thought, I've got boys and I've got a couple of characters. So pick up a couple of odd boys, and then it kind of grew from there.
Nice, mate. That's great. Okay. Well, that's good that you're still keeping that Old Hammer vibe alive, especially for YouTube channel as well. So people who don't know, you do have a YouTube channel that you upload videos on, various hobby kind of related videos, a lot of modern stuff. I can see behind you, you've got like Shadespire, Horus Heresy, Indominus, Kill Team. So you've got quite a lot of modern style games, but you've got a good blend of sort of the older retro games like Rogue Trader.
Basically I'm basically a huge fan of plastic, especially the modern kits. Just the ease of cutting and converting, because I'm very much a converter and narrative kit basher. I like all of my models to be as unique as possible, and plastic is just a lot easier to work with. And also having moved from one country to another, the weight of plastic is a huge bonus for me as well. But yeah, I have huge nostalgia for Rogue Trader era, like the much more crazy sci-fi aesthetic, and things are a lot more kind of Wild West, and a bit less kind of gothic and oppressive. I like that, of course, but I like the kind of more weird sci-fi stuff of the early days.
So sorry, Rob, when was it that you first encountered wargaming or miniatures or anything like that?
The very first miniatures thing was probably the original Hero Quest. I think my brother got it for Christmas or something like that. And I remember painting up, the very first model I painted was, I think, a skeleton from Hero Quest. And then I kind of followed my brother into the hobby. He started getting white dwarves and all that kind of thing. So yeah, we would spend weekends with books under the tablecloth type scenery and that kind of thing, playing huge games of Warhammer and all this kind of stuff. And then I kind of fell in and out of the hobby through university, and then got back into it in Japan when I found regular people to play with. So that's cool.
That's awesome, mate. That's great. Okay. And what was the first sort of metal model you purchased when you were a youngster? Can you remember?
Very first model I ever purchased was the metal Eldar jet bike. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
Fully metal, yeah.
Wow.
I think I was still maybe about 7 or 8 years old at the time. So my parents wouldn't let me use super glue. So for metal models, I used to leave them out for my dad overnight, and then he would be like the metal model fairy, and in the morning they would be super glued together.
That's brilliant, isn't it? Oh, very concerning parents. That's good. They probably wouldn't. I wouldn't let my son use super glue at 7 either. That's for sure. That's pretty impressive. So yeah, you're a good 10 years younger than me, I think. So I got into the hobby about 16, 17 through HeroQuest. So yeah, good decade difference. But it's good to see that you're still wargaming and that kind of thing. Now, look, I'm not familiar with all the new stuff that much. You know what I mean? I'm more of an old Hammer guy. When you walk into a Games Workshop these days in like the Warhammer stores now in Tokyo, do you get the same sort of sense of feeling that this is a real hobby store like it was back in the 90s? Is it the same kind or not?
It's less red than it used to be.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah. I think there's more of a kind of, it feels like there's a bit more of a kind of international community these days with social media and, worldwide stuff, which is good. And it's definitely much more vibrant than it used to be. But it also feels a lot more focused in terms of like aesthetic, which is good and bad. But yeah, like fairly recently, they've opened the Akihabara Tokyo store, which is like this huge. Have you been there, by the way?
I haven't. No.
It's worth a trip, I think. It's like the Warhammer world of Asia, basically.
Oh, right.
They've got dioramas and they've got a hobby section almost every time you go in there. There's groups of people painting or hanging out. People go in there to play board games and regular games and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, I think it's different vibe, but positive and growing. So yeah, that's it's got a good feel around Tokyo, I think.
That's good. I'm glad people are actually painting models. That's really good.
Yeah.
I was a little bit worried about looking at some of the modern kits, and when I got into the hobby, I painted like plastic monopose models, like 3rd edition, the regiments, the drastic plastics, and later HeroQuest. How the skill level must be a lot different now for people entering the hobby. From just thinking about it. I like I said, I'm not connected with the new stuff now. But someone coming in and finding it quite maybe intimidating, some of the kits they need to put together, assemble and paint, that kind of thing. So how approachable is it for a young person to get into Games Workshop these days, do you think?
I think it depends on which faction you choose, basically.
Right.
I don't know if there's any conscious decision about how they produce the kits or whatever. But I'm very ADHD, so I have a little bit of everything. So stuff like Space Marines are very easy to paint, obviously. They're the beginner faction, the most popular faction for a reason. Very big and chunky and clean lines comparatively. But then you have something like the like Slaanesh. Fantasy Slaanesh has got its own complete range these days. And the amount of detail on those figures is fairly ridiculous. But yeah, like these days you've got contrast paint and all kinds of spray paints that are available in really good quality. So it's much easier to get paint on your figures than it was when we were kids.
Cool.
Yeah, because I started out with enamels. We'd have like a little pot of white spirits and have to paint outside with the windows open so we don't.
Yeah, remember those days, mate. So yeah, I suppose in some ways, the model complexity, the assembly stage is that kind of thing more difficult maybe, and the detail is more intimidating for people. But then the paint technology is improving. We've got better ways of getting paint on models. Yeah, I'm just thinking. I was just asking you because I know you're sort of connected more with the newer stuff, and I haven't even walked into a Games Workshop store in decades, so I don't know what it's really like now. So I just thought about it. Is it the same that it was for young kids back in the day in the 90s? Because in the 90s, you would have a store full of young kids all around the games tables playing demo, and it was a really big, quite loud and bright kind of experience for children. But nowadays, it seems like the age they're sort of targeting is more of a, late 20s, mid 30s, early 40s kind of age bracket now. So
yeah, I think like a lot of kind of nerd hobbies that we grew up with, like also comic books and everything that's being turned into movies. It's kind of refocusing on adults with disposable income.
yeah,
But yeah, for kids, there's a lot of push fit models these days. Like most of the all the Indomitus stuff. Indomitus is 9th edition. 10th edition just came out, so this is about 2 or 3 years old. But all the models in that are push fit, so you don't need any glue.
well, that's good, isn't it?
So yeah, it's and there's also like a magazine series that they release, multi-part, where you can get figures off the shelf. Yeah, and I think in America they also do like board games that are designed to be sold in, like bookshops and reaching out to it's a much wider audience, I think, than it used to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember the 3rd edition Space Hulk Terminators. They were brilliant. They were just like a one sprue. There was no assembly, just click the sprue and away you go. They were just awesome. Yeah, I really like that. So hopefully they bring that back more and more into the Games Workshop hobby. I think it'd be really good. More accessible, especially for board games and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
When you think about some of the modern games now, when they deal with plastic, especially for board games, it's all assembled, pre-assembled. They're all in bases and everything. You just pull them out of the box and away you go.
Yeah.
Anything that makes it more accessible for people to start playing games.
I think they still have a problem with advertising or clearly informing people which are the like simple kits and which ones are not. Because like, for example, Underworlds or Shadespire, whichever you want to do, which is the kind of board game version. I think all of the figures for the entire range for that are push fit.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, so they're multi-part, and you probably need instructions to figure out which bits go in which. But yeah, you don't need glue. Fairly off the shelf. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's the one and only modern game I've tried of Games Workshop, and I actually really liked it.
Yeah,
a really good system. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, it's really good fun. I would also suggest I might try and get you to try this game out. Warcry is one of my other favorites.
Right. Yeah, Paul's been trying to tell me to try Warcry, and if anything like an innovative mechanic in it, then I'm willing to give it a go. And I can play with my old Hammer models and integrate it perfectly into that system. That's fine. So
well, my selling point is, number one, all the rules are free online. Games Workshop's got PDFs for all of the figures and everything. It's quite abstract, so what models you use is fairly open to interpretation. And yeah, the games take like an hour, maybe 2 hours if you get distracted and start yelling at each other midway through. But it's very much like feels like a kind of arcadey game, like a button basher video game. Where you just have fun and you roll some dice and see what happens.
Brilliant. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm willing to give it a go. I'm willing to give it a try and see what it's like. So
sounds good.
As much as I embrace the old and love the old, I'm willing to embrace the new in certain quarters. So okay, that sounds good, mate. But now, anyhow, let's get back to the old Hammer, because now we're sort of thinking about playing Rogue Trader 40, the first edition of Warhammer 40,000.
That's the plan.
That's the plan, and we on your channel, and I'll leave a link in the show notes for that, so people can actually see me rolling the dice and you creating your Death Skull clan full of freebooters and whatnots in there, so people can follow along that. And that series that you're going to be detailing the painting process and collecting the models and that kind of thing as you build up your own clan. And I'll be doing the same. We'll be doing the same in vice versa. So you'll be rolling dice for me as I build my Band Moon clan. And then at some point in the future, hopefully not too far in the future, we'll actually get together at some point somewhere, maybe in Tokyo, and actually let's go to the Akihabara store.
Yeah.
And let's surprise the kids with some old metal models.
I think that'd be good fun to play old Hammer on a new Hammer board.
Yeah, why not? It'd be really cool. I mean, like, you say it's like kind of like the Warhammer world of Japan. Well,
yeah.
Maybe we can go say, hey, look at these models. They were the first made models for, well, not exactly the first generation, but very close to the Rogue Trader. Yeah, so it'd be quite a spin out for people to, as long as if we can bring the books as well, that'd be even better.
Oh yeah.
They can go through all the artwork and everything, be just excellent. So yeah, okay,
sounds cool.
Definitely do that, mate. So that's the plan.
Yeah.
But
yeah, so far, I have painted one orc. Rogue Trader orc. I did a painting video on it. So if you want to see the process, I've got like a step-by-step guide. So yeah, from now on, I'm gonna make a series of videos where I repaint my old metal models and like build the plastics and all this kind of thing until I've got a playable army. And then we can fight against each other.
Wonderful. Yeah, I'd really look forward to it, mate. I've never played Rogue Trader 40k. I've seen it demoed at my house when I was about, 17 or something in high school. But that's it. That's as far as I've come to ever seeing it being played. So I really look forward to, I enjoyed rolling up our clans and everything like that. So that part of it's been really fun. But then getting to the table and actually playing it out. Now, how many points are we aiming for? Was it 1,000 points?
I think last time we said 2,000, but reading through the books a little bit more closely, it seems like 1,000 was the starting point.
I think 1,000 would be good, mate. That was to take a weekend of playing the game, I think.
Yeah.
The rules aren't for being so streamlined. So, I think 1,000 points is a good one, good target point anyway.
Sounds good to me.
All right, buddy. Okay, well, thanks again, Rob, for coming on to the Chronic Man. I really appreciate your time.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
No, mate, that's no problem at all. And I'll leave links there so people can follow your Rogue Trader progress and hobby blogs. And now we're going to go and roll up my Bad Moon clan.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, thanks for having me on. And see you in the next part.
Okay, mate. Take care. See you, mate. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks again for watching the video, guys. Thank you for subscribing and liking and commenting on the videos. I really appreciate that. Remember to share the podcast and the videos to like-minded people who would enjoy this content. And if you'd like to support the podcast and the YouTube channel, then please consider becoming a Patreon. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.